He was humiliated in front of everyone, fired, mocked, and told his life was over. A single dad with nothing left except one risky decision that everyone laughed at. But what happened next? It shocked the very people who doubted him and turned him into something no one saw coming. If you love powerful comeback stories that inspire and hit deep, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kind Soul Stories, where real emotions meet unforgettable journeys. David. Carter stood frozen in the center of the office, the hum of computers and quiet conversations fading into a distant blur as his boss's final words echoed in his ears. "You're done here, finished." It didn't feel real. Just moments ago, he had been reviewing reports, thinking about picking up Lily from school, planning dinner, normal things. And now, in a single breath, everything had collapsed. 10 years of hard work, loyalty, and silent sacrifices had been erased like they meant nothing. His hands trembled slightly as he gathered the few personal items from his desk. A framed photo of Lily smiling brightly, a worn notebook filled with ideas he never got the chance to present, and a coffee mug she had gifted him on his last birthday. Around him, co-workers avoided eye contact, pretending to be busy, unwilling to share in his humiliation. The walk out of the building felt longer than it ever had before, each step heavier than the last. Outside, the world moved on as if nothing had happened. Cars passed. People laughed. Life continued. But for David, everything had stopped. Sitting alone on a bench, he stared at the ground, trying to process how quickly stability could turn into uncertainty. As a single father, failure wasn't just personal, it had consequences. Lily depended on him for everything, and now he didn't even know how he would pay next month's rent. That evening, he forced a smile as he opened the door to their small apartment, greeted instantly by Lily's cheerful voice. She ran into his arms, unaware of the storm inside him. "Daddy, you're late," she said innocently, hugging him tightly. He held her a little longer than usual, as if trying to protect her from a reality he couldn't yet explain. Over dinner, he stayed quiet, lost in thought, until Lily gently placed her tiny hand over his and said, "It's okay, Daddy, you look sad. But we'll be okay." Her words pierced through his pain, breaking the walls he had tried so hard to hold up. That night, after she fell asleep, David sat by the window staring into the darkness, his mind filled with fear, doubt, and questions. He had lost his job, his confidence, and his sense of direction. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the weight of despair, a small spark refused to die, a quiet, stubborn belief that this couldn't be the end of his story. When David finally shared his idea with others, the reaction was exactly what most people would fear: laughter, doubt, and harsh judgment. Friends who once supported him now questioned his sanity. Former colleagues shook their heads and said he had lost touch with reality. "You couldn't hold on to a stable job, and now you want to invest in broken warehouses," one of them mocked. Even family members, though concerned, urged him to choose something safer, something predictable. But David had already lived the safe life, and it had collapsed overnight. This time, something inside him pushed him toward risk, toward uncertainty, toward a path no one else believed in. With trembling hands but a determined heart, he used the last of his savings and secured a small loan, enough to purchase one of the abandoned warehouses he had seen days earlier. The moment he stepped inside as the new owner, reality hit him hard. The place was in worse condition than he remembered. Dust covered every surface. The roof leaked in multiple places, and the smell of neglect filled the air. For a brief moment, fear crept in, whispering that everyone else might be right. But then he thought of Lily, of her quiet faith in him, and he picked up a broom and started cleaning. Day after day, he worked tirelessly, fixing what he could with limited resources, learning new skills through trial and error. His hands became rough, his body exhausted, but he refused to stop. Lily often sat in a corner with her schoolbooks, watching her father rebuild something from nothing, her presence silently giving him strength. Financial pressure grew heavier with each passing week. Some days they barely had enough to eat, yet David never let Lily feel the full weight of their struggle. Slowly he began reaching out to small business owners, people who, like him, were struggling to survive. He offered them space at unbelievably low prices, promising flexibility and understanding. At first, doors closed on him. Rejections came one after another. But David kept going, knocking on more doors, telling his story, offering hope. Eventually, one small shop owner took a chance on him. Then another followed. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The empty warehouse began to show signs of life, and with each new client, David's belief grew stronger. What everyone had mocked as a foolish gamble was slowly turning into something real, something meaningful, proof that sometimes the biggest risks carry the seeds of the greatest transformations. Within a year, the warehouse that once stood silent and forgotten had transformed into a place full of movement, purpose and possibility. Trucks came and went, workers loaded and unloaded goods, and small business owners walked through its doors with hope instead of hesitation. David often stood quietly in a corner, watching it all unfold, hardly believing that this was the same broken space people had laughed at him for buying. What started as a desperate attempt to survive had grown into something far bigger than he had imagined. The few clients he had struggled to gain in the beginning now turned into a steady stream of new ones, each bringing more life into the business. Word spread quickly among local entrepreneurs. There was finally a place that understood their struggles, a place that didn't demand high costs or rigid contracts. David wasn't just offering storage. He was offering a chance. As the demand grew, so did his ambition. Instead of slowing down, he pushed forward, reinvesting every bit of profit back into the business. He searched for more abandoned warehouses, the same kind everyone else ignored, and one by one he brought them back to life. Each new location came with its own challenges, repairs, finances, risks. But David had learned something powerful during his journey. Fear loses its control when purpose takes over. And his purpose was clear now, not just to succeed, but to build something meaningful that could help others like him. Soon his small operation evolved into a network of warehouses, connected by a simple yet powerful idea: affordable space for those who needed it most. Investors began to notice the rapid growth. People who once dismissed him now reached out with offers, partnerships, and praise. But David remained grounded. He remembered every sleepless night, every rejection, every moment he had questioned himself. Those memories kept him humble and focused. At home, life had changed too. Lily no longer saw the tired, worried man who struggled to hide his pain. Instead, she saw strength, confidence, and quiet determination. She proudly told her friends about her father, the man who fixed broken buildings and helped people. Her belief in him had never wavered, and now it felt like the world was finally catching up. Then one day, something unexpected happened. David received an invitation to speak at a major corporate event. When he looked at the address, his heart skipped a beat. It was the same company, the same building where he had once been fired and told he was finished. This time, however, he wasn't walking in as an employee. He was walking in as a success story. Years passed, and what David had once built out of desperation had grown into something far beyond survival. It had become a legacy. His network of warehouses expanded across cities, each one transformed from a neglected space into a thriving hub of opportunity. What made his company different wasn't just its scale, but its purpose. David never forgot where he came from, and he made sure his success carried meaning. He introduced programs specifically designed to support single parents, offering flexible jobs, fair wages, and training for those who needed a second chance. Many of his employees saw themselves in his story. People who had been overlooked, underestimated, or pushed aside. Under his leadership, they found stability, dignity, and hope again. Lily, now older and wiser, often walked through the facilities with pride shining in her eyes. She had witnessed every step of the journey, the struggle, the doubt, the sleepless nights, and now she saw the result of it all. To her, her father wasn't just successful. He was proof that pain could be turned into purpose. She would often tell others, "My dad didn't just build a business, he built chances for people." And those words meant more to David than any award or recognition he received. Despite his growing success, David remained a humble man. He still visited the very first warehouse he had bought, the one everyone had mocked. Now, fully renovated and bustling with activity, it stood as a symbol of everything he had overcome. One evening, as the sun began to set and cast golden light across the building, David stood quietly outside, reflecting on the path that had brought him here. He thought about the day he was fired, the humiliation, the fear, the uncertainty, and instead of feeling bitterness, he felt gratitude. That painful moment had pushed him toward a life he would have never discovered otherwise. He realized that sometimes the world's rejection is not the end, but a redirection. The things people ignore, the chances they overlook, often hold the greatest potential. David had simply been brave enough to see it and to act on it. As he looked up at the building, filled with life and purpose, a small smile formed on his face. He wasn't finished that day he was fired. He was being prepared, because in the end, his story was never about losing everything. It was about discovering what he was truly capable of becoming. Like this video and subscribe to Kind Soul Stories for more powerful, emotional journeys that inspire change and strength.